Hey guys, this is Serial Killer here. Got a little video for you guys for Necro 10. Wanted to get it up. I've been going back and forth on Necro 10 for a while now. And when I say back and forth, I mean whether or not I want to do it. When it first came out, I kind of wanted to hop in there for some rage runes, maybe little will runes. At the same time, I kind of moved away from using the rage runes. I really like violent runes. There's only a couple of my monsters that even have rage runes. And I was having a lot of problems being successful in Necro, so I took like a 2-week break where I would just decided, you know what, I'm not even going to go in here. It's not worth it. I've decided it's actually kind of fun plucking around with trying to make this stuff work, and I want to be able to get will runes reliably, not to mention the mana. So that's when I decided to get back in there. At the same time, I don't want to 6-star a bunch of stuff just for testing. I wanted to know stuff was going to work before I 6-starred it. And I was actually able to get this thing going with this team you're looking at right here with 4 5-star 35 monsters. Not especially runed well. They're not terrible, but nothing super amazing. The worst part about this team is just the fact that that Lich right there and the Cowgirl are unskilled, so they're not particularly great at putting the slow up. Once I get some Devilmon in those guys, this team I think is going to be much, much nicer. As it is, I was pretty amazed the first time I cleared manual B10. I went in there definitely not expecting to beat it. I went in there thinking, hey, I'll go in, see how badly I get destroyed, or at least kind of in what way I get destroyed, and then I can change the team or modify the team based on that. And I couldn't believe it when I killed it. So I'm like, oh, let's try it again. And it works really well. Every once in a while I'll get a fail, mainly because the Dark Harpoo dies, because she is relatively squishy. But that is the kind of stuff that'll go away once the team's fully built. The main reason I'm making this video for you guys is I was very hesitant to 6-star anything until I knew it was going to work, and being able to manual this with 5-star 35 monsters to me lets me kind of know that, hey, these 5 monsters will work, this will get the job done for me, and that gave me the confidence to decide, hey, you know what, I'm going to eventually 6-star these 4 monsters, and this is going to be my B10 auto team. So I wanted to pass that along to you guys. Maybe you'll end up going with the same kind of auto team as me, maybe not, but hopefully you can at least grab something out of these monsters. You'll notice my monsters revenge like crazy, and that is because they are stacked with revenge runes. Harpoo's triple revenge, Cowgirl's revenge focus, and the Water Lich is revenge focus. And Bella and Colleen are violent revenge. So you will need to have a relatively successful Dragons team to build this team, or at least to do it the way I do it, because I've got, tons of violent and revenge runes. They're not particularly amazing runes. I'll go over the runes in the end of the video, but they are at least the right, category, being violent and revenge. Frankly, I like the revenge a lot better. I just wasn't able to get full revenge on the Lich and the Cowgirl and have the accuracy I wanted. In here, they did something really nice for us, either on purpose or on accident. The trash mobs, this Lich right here hits pretty hard, and then the last boss hits pretty hard. But all of the crystals and all of the golems hit relatively softly. I honestly believe the B7 and B8 crystals and golems hit harder than the B10 crystals and golems. And the reasoning behind that is because the B10 crystals and golems put up dots, which in my mind is way easier to deal with. Any of you that have done your Dragon's Climb relatively recently will probably remember one of the Dragon's 10 floors, either B6 or B7 I think, is dark. And that one is just so much easier than all the other floors because you're not worried about something, armor breaking you and then destroying you. You're worried about something slowly tickling you to death, and you can just heal right through that usually. In Dragons, I had an Almond that just negated all the dots. In here, Bella and Colleen do a pretty good job of it. This Lich right here actually hits pretty hard. You'll notice the good and the bad. of my Bella being light means that the entire dungeon just punches him in the face the whole time, which is great for these other 35 monsters because they don't take really a whole lot of flack until it gets to the end boss. But surprisingly, they do a decent number on this Bella, just this middle lich right here. I wouldn't say that I'm in a spot where I'm going to be dying, but he definitely gets beat up pretty well. If your Bella can't hang with that, this team's going to be a problem. My Bella is not particularly amazing. Again, I'll show you all this stuff at the end of the video. I would say I have a medium quality Bella. I think she's got low 20,000 hit points, not a whole lot of defense, mainly focused on getting Violent and Revenge and some speed on her. I actually had better stats on her before I made the switch to Violent and Revenge, but Violent and Revenge is gold. That is the only way to have a Bella, is game changing, having her every once in a while Revenge and get a armor break proc, and then Violent and cut down the cooldown on her heal. Now you'll notice right here, just to kind of see how all this stuff's going, the revenges are just insane, and that helps so much. Another thing that kind of built into this dungeon that appears to just not matter at all is these dark mobs have a thorns. For whatever reason, every thorns mechanic I've encountered in this game is basically worthless except for Jultan's. Jultan isn't exactly a thorns, but in essence that's how it works. And Jultan's has kill potential, or at least worst case you're gonna have to prepare for it. The thorns effect in here is completely negligible. It does absolutely nothing. So now we're here at the boss. Our main focus is that shield and getting the slow up, and mainly getting the slow up to get the shield down. So I went back and forth a couple times on auto and manual during the trash just to make it faster. I do this boss kill 100% manual, and that's because these guys are just too squishy. If they don't kill him relatively quick enough, he's going to start doing too much damage, and it's going to be a problem. Given the fact that 4 of my guys are 35, they're not doing the most insane damage either, so it really just needs to be manual at this point. I really think once these guys are 40 with some more love on runes, this is going to breeze through here on automatic, and I will keep you guys up to date on that. Once it happens, I'll get you another video so you can see it. Now, something else that's nice in here, because both my Lich and the Cowgirl don't have Devilmon in them, they don't have the greatest slow application, so it's pretty nice to be able to have 2 chances, one with each of them, to do the slow, and then on top of that, they're both triple hitters. Everyone in here is a triple hitter or a double hitter minus the Bella, and Bella very much pulls her weight. I had tried a couple comps without Bella because, oh, it's a single hitter, screw that, I'll just do it with, some heart booze or something else, and I couldn't find something that worked real well. I don't have a Praha. Praha is probably a really good replacement in here for a Bella. I'll go over, these 5 guys you see right here are 5 of like 15 that I raised for this dungeon. I'll show all my other monsters at the end of this, but I 5-star 35'd somewhere between 10 and 15 monsters for this dungeon. I kept leveling a monster, deciding I didn't love it, and then switching things around. No matter how I kind of switch things in and out with all the different comps I tried, the Bella healer runs were vastly more stable. And part of it is because of just the color. It's really nice to have Bella be tanking all this stuff for me. Part of it is just that Bella's an awesome healer. But frankly, Bella's just a really good monster. Even without her attack bar push on the boss itself, it helps wonders on the trash. You'll notice right here I've actually got a pretty decent setup right here. I've been able to keep this slow on them pretty well, and right now they got armor break on them pretty well. This is one of those dungeons where brute force would be great. Like, it's nice to do way more damage. If you'll see how much damage I'm hitting these guys for, it is, pretty pathetic. I'm doing nothing in big chunks to them, but it's all about keeping those debuffs on them. And in my personal opinion, the best way to do that is with some redundancy. If you look at my team, just in multi-hitters alone, I think I have way more multi-hitters than I need. And you definitely need to be able to slow them, and I have 2 slowers. And you definitely need to be able to attack break her, or him, and I have 2 of those, and you definitely need to be able to heal block them, and I have 2 of those. There's a lot of consistency built into this team in the form of, lots of backups. If anything that needs to happen doesn't happen, I have another chance to do it without having to waste the whole turn. If you fail to put the slow up and then let the slow fall completely off the boss and get a turn where the boss has a shield and no slow while a mind control's up, it just pushes you back so far. It is really painful. Something in here, one of the things I like most about this team is the ease of getting it. I like the fact that we're doing this with 4 35 monsters, not necessarily having to 6-star anyone yet. They will be 6-starred to go into auto, but the downfall of everyone being 35 is that their damage is terrible. Now I'm going to pop this rapid fire right here. The rapid fire from this cowgirl is most of my damage. Frankly, her putting those up and those dots going off, she probably does well over half the damage herself, and there's like technically 3 damage dealers here. That's going to change when people get leveled up, because that Dark Harpoo is an amazing monster. She, right now for me, is just getting used in here, but I really want to... She's probably going to be the first person I 6-star, not necessarily because she's the best out of these 4 or needs it the most. Well, I guess it is exactly that. She's going to gain the most from it. She's really the only one in here that is squishy even on manual, and 6-starring her will help with that, and it'll help let me pull her into raids, which I'm actually liking her in raids, but she's a little squishy for that. And I notice as I'm saying that, my cowgirl, gets the crap kicked out of her. But the cowgirl's actually usually not the one that gets pummeled. It's usually that Harpoo that's on the receiving end of the beat 'em stick. So right here, the boss has already died. He came back up, and that mind control just saved this run. This run is fairly stable doing it manual. It's not 100%, it's pretty close to it. I was really close to failing this run right here because my Sarah was super low and I didn't necessarily have a heal ready for her, and the Necro just handed me a rune by mind controlling that Sarah. Pulled her over there, let the whole deal come back, and she came back with half health, gave my healers a couple turns to get their cooldown back up, and everything worked out great. That mind control totally saved me. So we're back in this right now. Debuffs, let's see if we can get attack break up. We have it. We need a slow. Oh, fully debuffed right after this Bella armor breaks, and he's a boss. She's a boss, so she's going to get her done. Actually, yeah, we're going to heal, then we're going to violent proc because Bella's awesome, and we're going to armor break, and then we're going to kill him with this rapid fire. Not quite kill him, it looks like. We're going to take him to like 2 hit points with those dots, and, just this little damage from the Harpoos will punch him to death. Well, didn't quite make it that one. Now, see, right there, 0 shield left on the Necro boss. 52 of my guys procced Revenge, pulled his shield off, totally just negated that whole shield mechanic right there because of Revenge runes. Love Revenge runes on these guys, especially on this particular team. It is gold. And that is a dead Necro 10 boss, guys. I will go ahead and push through and show you the monsters, the runes on these guys, so that you can see what they're using. After that, I'm going to show you the 10 to 15 guys that I built for this and then decided were not necessarily ideal. Some of them maybe are more ideal for you, or maybe it's better to use because you don't have a water lich. I love that. And I don't know exactly, but I'm definitely going to keep that. That might get some use. I'm trying to plug Nemesis into a couple monsters. Not having speed on it is a very sad face, but we'll see if we can do something with that. Now, the important part to this whole aspect. My Bella is pretty decent. Some of you working on Necro 10 may or may not have a Bella as good as mine. I think you could skimp a little bit. At the same time, a lot of you have a Bella that just destroys mine. But I think you could skimp a little bit on the Bella and still get this done, especially if you had 4 less terrible other guys to go with him. But that Bella goes pretty much everywhere. Carries my Dragons team. I use him in like almost every arena fight. Comes to like every guild war. He's all over the place. So he pretty much gets first pick out of all my runes. There's a couple, monsters that maybe I'll steal a rune or they'll get the best ones instead of Bella, but he's got pretty much the best I have to offer, which he's your fairly standard speed, hit point, accuracy. I think a lot of people actually go speed, hit point on Bella, but I'm a fan of speed, hit point, accuracy. I have 82%, and every time he screws up a seize, I want to throw my phone through the window, so I want 100% accuracy. So I'm not willing to switch out this rune for a hit point rune. I'll show you guys my 135 as well. A couple nice speed runes right there. Now, speaking of speed, hit point, accuracy versus speed, hit point, I just made the change on my Veramos to speed, hit point, because I got these 2 glorious runes. Well, I don't know if you want to go glorious, but they're 6-star hit point percentage violent runes, so I was pretty happy with them. And I somehow managed to keep his accuracy up pretty high. I'm very happy with that. Veramos is probably easily my number 2 best runed guy. If Bella can't make use of it, then Verde and Veramos are fighting over it. Now, to the important part, this little adventure we got right here. This is my sweet Regal with 0 skill ups right here, and this I think is the hardest part of mine, or the thing that's keeping me back more so than being level 40 from an auto run. Given that this run works as well as it does, and obviously it's not the best thing in the world, but I got 4 35s in here, and given it works as well as it does with the 4 35s, Regal is going to be getting Devilmon, and Sarah is going to be getting Guild Point Cowgirls, and maybe Devilmon to speed that up as well. So my Regal has mediocre stuff. Mainly, he's got 100% hit points, a little bit of defense, and accuracy, and he is Violent Focus, because I could not make him, Revenge Focus, because I could not make him triple Revenge and get the stats I want. So if you look at him, I've got a +10 and a +9 and a +12. I got this cool little, enchant thing on his hit point rune. You got a couple extra out of him. I was pretty stoked on that. But I've got him runed hit points, defense, accuracy. And you're going to see a theme here. I'm really liking that for Necro. I'm thinking when they're 6-star, I might switch that out and try to go like hit points, attack. Like get rid of these defense runes, but you're going to see a lot of main stat defense runes and go, what is this guy doing? And it might seem kind of crazy. I don't really think it's recommended. I don't think people, air quotes, do it. It works great for me, as you just saw. This Sarah, she kind of got the back end of whatever I didn't give to the Water Lich. So she's got a lot less hit points. She's got about 50% hit points versus the 100% that he's got. She, oddly enough, has a bunch of defense and accuracy. Wonder how that worked out. She's also Revenge Focus, and she is defense, crit rate, attack. Much better subs on this chick, and it let me go defense, crit rate, attack versus having the hit point defense accuracy, but I still got her up to 80% accuracy, And frankly, with her activation chance so low, where it's unskilled, she probably doesn't really even have any use having that much accuracy anyway. But that speed debuff is just instrumental in making this work. So I ruined her like that. Gonna get some Devilmon and some Cowgirls in her, and she's gonna be glorious. You see, she also has 0 skill ups, which is, terrible that she has 0 skill ups. It's awesome that it works with 0 skill ups. You see my other scrub monster, who I love, this Black Harpoo. I've seen 1 or 2 people use it, and that's about it, and I love this thing. I thought about building a second Fire Harpoo for a while for Necro. At the end of this, I'll go through my failed experiments, but I was going to build a second Fire Harpoo, get rid of Bella, and bring Fire Harpy to armor break for me, and that just did not work at all. Bella he's glorious. He tanks B10 quite well, and he just heals so much better than, my Bella, Violent Revenge, with a bunch of speed, heals so much better than everything else. I decided against the 2 Fire Harpoo thing, and that's what actually kind of pushed me into this Dark Harpoo deal. Dark Harpoo technically has the same debuffs, +1, as Fire Harpoo, but the Dark Harpoo, I'm focusing more on a damage dealer, so she doesn't get the accuracy that, I would put on, say, a Colleen. She's got attack and defense hit points, and I think that's pretty comfortable for her. She's vastly squishier than I want, but she's got, some runes that have some play in them, a +12 and another +12 and a 5-star and a 6-star. And I'm hoping 6-starring her will keep her, or get her a lot sturdier. If she doesn't get, quote-unquote, way sturdier when I 6-star her, she's probably going to end up, something's going to change. She's too squishy as it is. I'm attributing that to her 535, not her runes. I actually kind of like her attack, defense, hit points. Now my Fire Harpoo, I use her in a lot of stuff. Look at that pretty blue rune right there. She's a fairly standard healer, Violent Revenge. I've contemplated going full revenge on her, which I think is honestly infinitely better than Violent Revenge for Necro, but I use this Fire Harpoo a lot. I use her in Guild Wars a lot. I use her very rarely in TOA, pretty rarely in Arena, so I guess mainly in Guild Wars. I use her a lot. Fire Harpoo and my Fire Mermaid are my holy crap, the enemy has a Lucian, what am I going to do, guys? Between her stunning and putting this thing on the Lucian stuff on cooldown and calling attack breaking it, that's how I deal with Lucians. So I like her being Violent Revenge. Stat-wise, looks pretty similar to all the other guys. Seems to have about 100% hit points, 100% defense, and a decent amount of accuracy. Wonder how I did that. Her runes, she really should. I have no business having these unpowered runes on her, because I use her enough. She merits it. But I'll show you in a bit why. My runes are just so spread out between 10 plus 535s that I've been screwing around with Necro, trying to find ones that I can go, hey, you know what? I love these guys. These guys are going to get 6-starred. Personally, I'm super willing to 5-star 35 a monster. I do not want to 6-star a monster unless it is just gold, because that is a huge investment for me to 6-star a monster. Whereas, 5-starring a monster and maxing it to 35, I can do that pretty easy. I'm not too worried about that. So this chick gets used enough where I just have no business having this +6 rune or any of these +9s either. But good for you guys, because I've got a +9 hit point rune, a +12 defense rune, and an accuracy rune. And if you'll notice, none of the monsters are quote-unquote immortal, but this Fire Harpoo is plenty sturdy as is. When she goes 6-star, she's going to lose this defense rune. I'm going to throw a hit point rune here, and then I'm going to put speed back on slot 2, and she's going to be back to crushing Lucians the way that I want to. Now, that is enough for the success adventure. I will share with you guys my many failed attempts, or at least in my mind failed attempts. Hopefully you guys can waste a little bit less time than me with the Necro. You'll see I have literally more than a full page of 5-star 35s, and a huge portion of them are failed Necro experiments. I built this chick just for Necro. If you are going to take her anywhere near Necro, I'm under the impression that she needs to be 6-starred and runed very well. This chick is squishy. Holy crap. She does have a 100% armor break on her auto attack. So if you have a Chisoon or a Praha is an awesome healer for Necro. If you have a Chisoon or a Praha and they can do the majority of your Necro healing and you don't necessarily need to build a Colleen, if you don't necessarily need to bring your Bella, I would still take Colleen. But if you don't need to take a Bella, Lukasha, I think, is a really good alternative for your armor breaker. You're just going to need to stack this chick with lots of defensive runes, or your whole team is just going to have to be really nice to burn him really fast. And frankly, you could stack this chick with tons of defensive runes. She has really good base stats and really good multipliers. She does do really good damage, hit point, defense, hit point, which is how I ruined her. But even hit point, defense, hit point, she was squishier by leaps and bounds than this current Saren. And so she kind of got pushed out the gate real quick. I played around with a short bit for this Fire Frankenstein. I got enough Frankensteins out of that secret dungeon to level him right when he came out in case he was going to be good. And I didn't like him as a Fire Copper. I also didn't like him in Necro. Played around with my Griffin in Necro for a bit, didn't like it. Played around with my Rakaja, who, if you don't have a very fast Violent Revenge Bella, you need to build Rakaja. Rakaja is a glorious healer that every summoner that doesn't have a better glorious healer, you need one of these. If you're running around healing stuff with a Neil or a Lulu or a Colleen. Colleen has uses, but she is a good monster, not so much a good healer. And I'll go into that occasionally. There's a lot of people that I think are great monsters, but not necessarily the best healer. Kona, for example. Kona's a terrible healer, but she's an amazing monster. Her just heal is so small. Not a great healer. This guy is a really good monster and a glorious healer. On comparable runes, this guy will out-heal your Bella every day of the week. And he has a 2-turn cooldown, 50% chance stun, and a slow on his auto attack. This guy is what got me into Giants. I have another video of my Giants 10 team is 535 monsters. No 6 stars, Giants 10. And Rakaja is the reason why that works. He is a glorious healer. Not so much in Necro, didn't like him. I also, after not liking him, I built a light Yeti. Arkajan, I think is his name. I built him, hated him. He has the same auto attack slow. I built him, hated him, and then ended up using him as fodder to, forget who. I think he went into my Katarina or whatever. But, Rakaja I still use for other stuff. He's a great monster, just not for Necro. The light Yeti I built and then immediately regretted. I think that's a terrible monster. I wouldn't waste my time with it if I were you. I tried a Yen in Necro. My Yen does not have Devilmon. A Yen without Devilmon is not a Necro slower. If you're going to use a Whip Chick,
in my opinion, it requires at least 6 Devil Mod. 10 if you're unlucky, but you need this first skill max. It's just, it does not work without that first skill max. With only one hit and the low slow application, if you don't slow, it's just such a sandbag. If this guy fails to slow, he also multi-hits on both of his buttons and he breaks armor. If this chick fails to slow, she throws 42,000 dots up and has 3 auto attack hits and 2 hits here and 6 hits here. So they're still doing stuff. I felt like every time a Rakasha failed a slow, it was just so depressing, a total waste of space. Did not like it. Obviously, it's world changing if you're going to Devilmon it, but I was not a huge fan. If I had a Hua, a fire one, I probably would have built that and used it and loved it because it had uses elsewhere. I didn't want to build a Yen slow that is just going to be, in my mind, not good anywhere but Necro. So if we continue down my list of failed projects, I tried Neil for a bit right after they gave the 3-hit to your auto attack, and I feel like Neil was pretty terrible, but if you have a light fairy queen, I feel like she might be useful. I don't have a fairy queen, so I couldn't check it, but she has the same 3 auto attacks, and then she has 2 heals instead of this shield, and one of them is an AoE heal. I felt like that was a much better option. Actually, both of them might be AoE, I don't remember. But the light fairy queen, totally valid option, I think, as a Necro healer. I just don't have one. I messed around with the Dark Cowgirl, and that's what actually convinced me that summoning the Water Cowgirl was worth it. Dark Cowgirl has the same number 1 and same number 2, and then this button, which is just vastly worlds crappier than the Water one. So I'm glad I got this Dark one from that event, because if I hadn't got the Dark one, I wouldn't have played with it in Necro, and then I probably wouldn't have summoned the Water one. So Water one, infinitely better than the Dark one. Dark one will work in a crutch if you're still chasing an Ifrit, so you can't or don't want to use guild points on the Water one. But if you don't have this Water chick, you're going to need some more damage in your team. Like, my team works because they're really good monsters, or they're built, they're good monsters for Necro, and then, these dots just crush the Necro boss eventually. Not the fastest one in the world, but I don't think it would be successful without this blue chick, at least with 4 35 monsters in there. And I don't even think, we're not even at the end of my fail list. This guy, I built him after I used the Wind Yeti and it failed, or I didn't like it, and then I built the Light Yeti, who I think is just a terrible waste of space. I went, let's build this Dark Yeti. He slows on his auto attack and he slows on his number 2. It is possibly not the worst thing in the world. If you're going to manual the team, this Dark Yeti is gold. If you're going to manual a team, build a Dark Yeti, you're done. The only reason I'm manualing it is because I'm testing. I don't want a manual team, I want an automatic team, and this moron, at least for me, apparently just forgets that this button exists. I'll watch him 4 or 5 times in a row cast Slash Hook, which is a 1-turn slow, which is slightly more than a 0-turn slow. By the time you get the Yeti to go, and then apply the 1-turn slow, it's almost the Lich's turn, and then he'll take the turn off, or he'll take the turn, get rid of your 1-turn slow, and then have a shield with no slow again. So I hated it. When he would apply Shadow Burst, it works just as well or better than, Regal's. But I was not a fan. Awesome manual monster, so if you're going to do what I'm doing, but only do it once just to get your scroll, build this Dark Yeti instead of this Water Lich. which is great because you can't just go to the store and ask for a water lich. I happen to have a water lich and a fire lich, and I decided on the water lich. Hopefully you guys have a wind lich. Use him. Wind lich is amazing after the new buff. He's good in here. He's a good farmer. He's maybe an okay troll to slow people down on Sunday in your arena defense, and he's really good in guild battles. If you have a wind lich, use him instead of my water lich. If you don't have any liches, a second cowgirl is a real good triple hitter. A Lynette is a decent replacement. Doesn't slow, so you're going to need a good alternate slow. A Rakaja paired with a cowgirl would be a decent option. Or this Dark Yeti would be someone you could swap in here if you're going to have a cowgirl also. If you're only going to have one slower on auto, I do not think you can use a Wind Yeti. And I guess I should rephrase that. I don't want to say you can't use it. I'm going to say I don't think it's ideal. The slow needs to go up, and this idiot just loves to slash hook. I didn't like him on auto, but he is glorious for a manual monster. And maybe I'll run another video with him instead of the water lich just to show you guys so the team's 100% farmable. It works on manual. It would work fine on automatic if he would use this more often. I'll watch him not use this constantly, and then when he does use it, he shoots it into a shield and it gets wasted. He bothered me. You already saw this sexy, glorious wonder. We'll come back to this in 1 second. I tried this one, which you guys might not care about because you probably don't have her, or she's just a little bit harder to get than the other ones. It was a triple hitter, and I'm like, oh, maybe I can use her as a nuke in Guild Wars or Arena or something like that. I didn't like it. I didn't feel the damage numbers were high enough. The damage numbers do get high, but it just doesn't bring a whole lot else. Like she's not going to do as much damage as, say, like a Fire Barbarian King. And a Fire Barbarian King has this cool little button here where once it's skilled up, it has a 60% chance to stun on a 3-turn cooldown. Now, I don't know if you guys know of any other glorious, sexy monster that has a 60% chance to stun on a 3-turn cooldown. Fire Barbarian King has the exact same stun as Veramos. So when you take a monster like her that does, about as much damage as a Fire Barbarian King, with, in my mind, it has this cool button, but a monster like this, she's not going to have attack or accuracy if you're building her as a nuke. I don't like these single target kind of super important abilities. If you're using this ability, you need it to land, so you're better off dropping it with like a mermaid with a bunch of accuracy or something, in my opinion. I don't like this chick. If you wanted to build her as a support, I guess, but then if you're going to build her as a support, you're better off with like anything else that really is a support. The reason I wanted to do that chick first is because I kind of wanted to end on a good note. This chick was fighting for, call it my 6th or 7th slot in my Necro team. The problem is she only has, we only get 5 spots for a Necro team. Again, if you're going to manual, this chick is gold. You can go defense, crit rate, defense, and have terrible runes, or defense, crit rate, hit points, one of each, doesn't matter. Or if you have pretty nice runes, you can go defense, crit damage on 4, and she hits really hard with gravity shot, and it heals for way more than Colleen. Like, she is an awesome healer in certain situations. Like, she does stupid damage to like a water dungeon boss, but frankly, who cares? It's pretty easy to kill him. But this gravity shot works great. The problem with gravity shot is that on auto, she just shoots it into a shield and wastes it constantly. Kind of the same deal with this guy. But if you're going to manual a team, both of these monsters are super great options. Oh, I misspoke. I didn't get rid of the white dude. I thought I fed him in to make my Katarina. I turned him into a 5-star fodder. He's going to be my next something. I haven't actually pulled the trigger on that. I think he's going to end up in my Beretta. So here's this light guy in all of his failed glory. I had him fully skilled, and I did not like him at all. Poop monster. I actually skipped one. This was another failed attempt. We got this guy. I skilled him full skill, and I was thinking, oh, maybe, attack break on here, defense break there. Pretty decent. Got multi-hits all over the place. And for a 2-star, it's not the squishiest thing in the world, but it's pretty squishy. It's not fully leveled, but here's for some comparison points. Once fully leveled, it's probably slightly less squishy or right around this fire harpy. And the fire harpy is just too squishy to use, in my opinion, without glorious runes. And this guy gets filled into the same category. So I'm going to go ahead and stop this thing here, leave it at that. Oh, actually, before we sign off, Randy was another guy that I was trying to force into my Necro team, just because I have one and he's got a decent set of runes on him. He's got 2 hits there, either 2 or 58 billion hits there, depending on how things go. It didn't suck, but it wasn't glorious. And I really wanted to get this water cowgirl in here, and I was kind of stuck on maybe using a lich also. And my worry was that when Randy gets taken, the cowgirl and the fire harpoo, or the dark harpoo, have no problem killing Randy. But when the cowgirl gets taken, fire Randy is pretty useless at killing the water chick. So I'm a very pro mono element necro teams, barring, healers don't so much matter, because Colleen and Bella are never going to get taken unless your team is going horribly wrong. If they're getting taken, it means you're not doing any damage and you're not going to pass.